The active denial system is a non-lethal, directed energy weapon developed by the U.S. military, designed for area denial, perimeter security and crowd control. Informally, the weapon is also called the heat ray since it works by heating the surface of targets, such as the skin of targeted human subjects. Raytheon is currently marketing a reduced-range version of this technology. The ADS was deployed in 2010 with the United States military in the Afghanistan war, but was withdrawn without seeing combat. On August 20, 2010, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department announced its intent to use this technology on prisoners in the Pitchess Detention Center in Los Angeles, stating its intent to use it in operational evaluation in situations such as breaking up prisoner fights. The ADS is currently only a vehicle-mounted weapon, though U.S. Marines and police are both working on portable versions. ADS was developed under the sponsorship of the DoD Non-Lethal Weapons Program with the Air Force Research Laboratory as the lead agency. There are reports that Russia and China are developing their own versions of the active denial system. Effects: the ADS works by firing a high-powered beam of 95 GHz waves at a target, which corresponds to a wavelength of 3.2 mm. The ADS millimeter wave energy works on a similar principle as a microwave oven, exciting the water and fat molecules in the skin, and instantly heating them via dielectric heating. One significant difference is that a microwave oven uses the much lower frequency of 2.45 GHz. The short millimeter waves used in ADS only penetrate the top layers of skin, with most of the energy being absorbed within 0.4 mm, whereas microwaves will penetrate into human tissue about 17 mm. The ADS 1/4 repel effect in humans occurs at slightly higher than 44 degrees Celsius, though first-degree burns occur at about 51 degrees Celsius, and second-degree burns occur at about 58 degrees Celsius. In testing, pea-sized blisters have been observed in less than 0.1% of ADS exposures, indicating that second-degree surface burns have been caused by device. The radiation burns caused are similar to microwave burns, but only on the skin surface due to the decreased penetration of shorter millimeter waves. The surface temperature of a target will continue to rise so long as the beam is applied, at a rate dictated by the target's material and distance from the transmitter, along with the beam's frequency and power level set by the operator. Most human test subjects reached their pain threshold within 3 seconds, and none could endure more than 5 seconds. A spokesman for the Air Force Research Laboratory described his experience as a test subject for the system. For the first millisecond, it just felt like the skin was warming up. Then it got warmer and you felt like it was on fire. As soon as you're away from that beam, your skin returns to normal and there is no pain. Like all focused energy, the beam will irradiate all matter in the targeted area, including everything beyond behind it that is not shielded, with no possible discrimination between individuals, objects or materials. Anyone incapable of leaving the target area would continue to receive radiation until the operator turned off the beam. Reflective materials such as aluminium cooking foil should reflect this radiation and could be used to make clothing that would be protective against this radiation. Many human tests have been performed on over 700 volunteers and including over 10,000 exposures by ADS. A Penn State Human Effects Advisory Panel concluded that ADS is a non-lethal weapon that has a high probability of effectiveness with a low probability of injury, no significant effects for wearers of contact lenses or other eyewear. Normal skin applications, such as cosmetics, have little effect on ADS 1/4's interaction with skin. No age-related differences in response to ADS exposures, no effect on the male reproduction system. The limit of damage was the occurrence of pea-sized blisters in less than 0.1% of the exposures. In April 2007, one airman in an ADS test was overdosed and received second-degree burns on both legs, and was treated in a hospital for 2 days. There was also one laboratory accident in 1999 that resulted in a small second-degree burn. Possible long-term effects many possible long-term effects have been studied, with the conclusion that no long-term effects are likely at the exposure levels studied. However, Overexposures of either operators or targets may cause long-term damage including cancer. According to an official military assessment, in the event of an overexposure to a power density sufficient to produce thermal injury, there is an extremely low probability that scars derived from such injury might later become cancerous.
Personnel playing the role of an unruly mob at Georgia's Moody Air Force Base are about to fall prey to an invisible ray. The hulking panel atop this Humvee is part of what the U.S. military calls the Active Denial System, or ADS. It's designed to incapacitate enemy combatants with an unnerving, non-lethal sensation of intense heat. Watch as the ray silently strikes and scatters the crowd.
The Active Denial System has three great characteristics. First of all, it's safe. Second, it's effective. And third, it has a tremendous range compared to the other non-lethal weapons that today's warfighter has.
This is the heart of this 100 kilowatt transmitter. This is the gyrotron. 200 kilowatts of electricity is fed in, and 100 kilowatts of radio frequency comes out. That millimeter wave energy comes out an aperture underneath the main reflector, hits the subreflector, which illuminates that main reflector and sends a roughly antenna-sized beam downrange. Those holes that you see in the antenna are for the cameras and other visual equipment that the operator uses so that he knows exactly where that beam is going.
It's operated by a joystick. The operator looks into the console, sees exactly what that antenna is aimed at, moves the joystick left, antenna slews to the left, same way to the right. Then when there's an individual who's identified as a troublemaker, he has a cursor. He can put that cursor on that individual, pull the trigger that's on the joystick, and the energy is sent downrange at the speed of light.
The electromagnetic radiation released by the Active Denial System is similar to the microwaves in your microwave oven, in that it causes the water molecules in the target to become excited and heat up. But that's where the similarity ends. The ADS is designed to heat only the very surface of the skin. It does this by outputting only the carefully chosen radio wave frequency of 95 gigahertz. Even though it can easily penetrate clothing, the ADS generates a much shorter and safer wavelength of radio waves than those used in microwave ovens.
The Active Denial System millimeter wave directed energy beam reaches 1/64th of an inch into human skin. So that is the outermost layer of the skin, roughly equivalent to about 3 sheets of notebook paper. It is essentially affecting the pain nerves in the outermost layer of the skin, heating them up and causing an immediate repel effect.
Even these stoic servicemen, aware of what's about to happen,
engage,
can't help but flinch when they feel the heat.
This is the first time I've experienced the beam from the Active Denial System, and it feels like an intense warmth feeling, kind of similar to opening a very hot oven door, and it's a compelling feeling that you want to get out of the way of this beam. If you were not expecting this, it would definitely shock you and make you want to move.
Los Angeles Sheriff's Department announced that its intention to use this technology on prisoners in the Pitchess Detention Center in LA, stating that its intent to use it in operational evaluation in situations such as breaking up prisoner fights. The ADS is currently only a vehicle-mounted weapon, though U.S. Marines and police are both working on portable renditions. ADS was developed under the sponsorship of the DoD Non-Lethal Weapons Program with the Air Force Research Laboratory as a lead agency. There are reports that Russia and China are developing their own versions of the active denial system. The ADS works by firing a high-powered beam of 95 gigahertz waves at a target, which corresponds to a wavelength of 3.2 millimeters. The ADS millimeter wave energy works on a similar principle as a microwave oven, exciting the water and fat molecules in the skin and instantly heating them via dielectric heating. One significant difference is that a microwave oven uses the much lower frequency and longer wavelength of 2.45 gigahertz. The short millimeter wave used in ADS only penetrate the top layers of skin, with most of the energy being absorbed within the 0.4 millimeter, whereas microwaves will penetrate into human tissues about 17 millimeter. The ADS's effect of repelling humans occurs at slightly higher than 44 degrees Celsius, 111 degrees Fahrenheit, though first-degree burns occur at about 51 degrees Celsius, 124 degrees Fahrenheit, and second-degree burns occur at about 58 degrees Celsius. Okay, in testing, pea-sized blisters have been observed in less than 0.1% of ADS exposures, indicating that second-degree surface burns have been caused by the device. The radiation burns caused are similar to microwave burns, but only on the skin surface due to the decreased penetration of shorter millimeter waves. The surface temperature of a target will continue to rise so long as the beam is applied at a rate dictated by the target's material and distance from the transmitter, along with the beam's frequency and power level set by the operator. Most human test subjects reached their pain threshold within 3 seconds, and none could endure more than 5 seconds. So, I thought that was worth noting. You can read more information about it. I'll leave some links about the active denial system from Wikipedia. But, I think that we really should have a larger debate about what's going on with the deployment of millimeter waves specifically in the United States and elsewhere, especially since there's reports that people are planning on putting 100 gigahertz into tunnel systems, into public stations and things like that. To me, that would be a sign that potentially there might be some groups that are thinking, well, this is a good way to just have on hand a system installed for crowd dispersal, to chase away homeless people, things of that nature. It always starts off as something that they can get a certain degree of, I guess you could say, lack of compassion type, crowd control type systems where they say, hey, would you like to see your subway stations cleaned up or things like that, or your tubes cleaned up and things like that. And, I would say that, be careful what you will allow for with this technology when it comes to these types of things, because you might be inviting a much larger, problem into your world. And I really believe that at this point we really should be having a more logical, rational debate about what's happening here, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be creating a lot of disinformation around 5G intentionally to get it seem as if this is a crazy thing to complain about, when in all actuality, I'm telling you as a person that's been in the industry for a long time, millimeter wave introduces a whole different dynamic to it that UHF simply wasn't capable of doing before. We could all sort of brush off concerns as engineers and technicians when it came to UHF, because it doesn't have that same type of pencil beam characteristic as the technology that's being rolled out now. The antenna characteristics are different, the way they're being put into different areas are different, and it does require a little bit of additional evaluation and critical review by professionals, I think. And if there's a way that I can help facilitate that or be a part of that larger debate, I would really like to be a part of it. And I just hope that people will support me in that endeavor, because that will require some testing gear and equipment that right now I simply don't have. And I'll get into that in another article, but I just wanted to leave you with this thought on 5G, millimeter wave, and the correlation to the active denial system, because people's concerns about what's being done with this technology is legitimate. But I would caution you, don't immediately run around saying that everything is this, because there is a logical argument to say that not everything that's in that millimeter wave spectrum, 30 to 300 gigahertz, is capable of doing this. But again, we do need to have some systems in place through which we can at least have a discussion, a public debate, and be able to report these things. And that's all falls within the range of a logical, reasonable expectation from the citizenry to its government. Thank you.